Hey guys, I'm back. It's a follow-up to the last video. I'm just sitting out here under the gazebo looking at the park. Look at where... And it's absolutely beautiful. It feels like cotton candy outside. It's like 75, 80 degrees, clear blue skies, beautiful fall weather in Oklahoma. And I'll tell you, I used to be like, Oklahoma's so boring. It's so boring and ugly compared to all these exotic places I saw. I spent, out of the last 7 years, 5.5 to 6 years of that was spent backpacking in South America. My purpose in life is to travel, and I'm going to be back on my journey pretty soon. But I will say that being back in Oklahoma, I'm able to take whenever I start feeling like I have the power to choose to feel satisfied and fulfilled every single day of my life, no matter where I am, no matter what my circumstances are, no matter what my bank account looks like. And I actually just made a video about this earlier today, on my front porch, about what to do when you're feeling powerless. You're not as powerless as you think. And I've been able to practice this whenever I'm like, gosh, I'm starting to cultivate this negative emotion, really thinking about everywhere I'd rather be. That was preventing me from being fully in the moment. And I was like, well, maybe you had some treasures from your journey, from traveling, that you can apply to your journey where you are now, because you're here for a reason and a purpose. You may not have all of that unveiled to you right now. And traveling roguely, because I do crazy shit when I travel. But literally just having a back on my back and living super simply. And all I need is like 3 or 4 changes of clothes, maybe 5 max, pair of tennis shoes. I keep my pair of river shoes wrapped in a plastic bag in my bag in case I need those, which I'll do a video later about what I pack to backpack. By backpacker, I don't mean literally packing a tent and sleeping in woods and shit. I'm too fragile for that shit. But I mean, literally all that I need is on my back. And I live very minimalistically, very minimally. And allows me to drift. And it teaches me a lot about life. Those are all things that are going to be wildly reignited in me when I embark on my journey here pretty soon. That I will talk about more in detail, and I'll have footage in bus stations and airports and out of Uber windows and on motorcycles. But I learned when I was drifting from village to village in these remote places, and some places they'd never even seen a foreigner. People would come out of their houses and just stare at me walking down the street, and the neighbors would come out to just look, because they'd never seen an actual foreigner. Places that were so off the beaten path. And it taught me how to look at life in general through the eyes of a tourist. Think about when you go to a new place and you're like, oh, everything is so exciting and new. And I taught that to locals, because they would just be like, what do you mean you want to go see that? Why would you want to go see that? Because they didn't understand the magic in it. And I taught people there how magical it really was, even though they were born and raised there and they saw it all the time, that it was normal for them. It was so erotic for me. There was magic in every little thing. So I'm like, can you not, if you believe it's that way anywhere, well, let's apply that to Oklahoma. Think about how many streets in your own neighborhood you've never even walked down. Think about how many flowers in those neighborhoods you've never stopped to smell. Think about how many parks locally that I have access to a vehicle, my roommate's vehicle, either in the morning for a couple of hours or after 6 p.m. at night. Well, there's lots of different places that you could go to in the morning to go visit a park. And it doesn't even cost anything. And you can go visit different parks and bring your journal and your notebook. I don't really feel inspired to write right now in my life. But so anyway, all that to say, I'm enjoying the park in Oklahoma. And there's magic everywhere to be untapped. So I want to talk about the reason that people are scared to change. When you have a desire that's just been bursting out of you, that you're like, it's getting so strong that it's waking you up at night, and you're thinking, gosh, like, I don't know that I can deny this desire any longer about starting this, whatever it is that you're wanting to start. Start writing your book, start writing in general, without the pressure or the expectation of a book or anything to come out of it. To start writing, or to start facing a trauma, or to start, or to go on that trip. to face that one challenge you've always been scared of facing, to begin a weight loss journey, to get out of a relationship you've been unhappy in, to get out of the religion that you no longer feel aligned to, or to get into one that you now do newly feel aligned to, or to make a huge move in your life from one place to another, to get out of a marriage. Whatever it is for you, the circumstances or the scenarios are infinite for what it means to you, right? There's 8 billion people on the planet. And it's not always that you can't. Those of you who know, I'm talking to you. This video is for you. And it's easy to lie to ourselves and say, well, I mean, if I had X, Y, and Z, then I would go ahead and make the change. But you know that there's little things that you could do. And you know that if you started doing a couple little things different, that it would open into a snowball effect of a lot of things being done different. And the real reason that it's hard to admit to yourself is that you know it's going to rock the boat of a lot of things around you, and you're scared. And it's up to you to find out what it is that you're truly scared of. And the way to find that is to be honest with yourself. It is not rely on anything else or anyone else but you. You're scared of what other people are going to think of you. That's a whole other video from a whole other thing. You're scared of lack. You're scared of, that if you decide to get sober. Yeah, you're scared of what feeling withdrawals are going to feel like, and you're scared of all the feelings that are going to come up that you've been numbing for years. But what you're really scared of, or this is what I can say I was really scared of, I had quit drinking, and I will say, full disclosure, in my last video, I kind of gave an update about it has been hard. This last year has been hard. I had gotten sober in November 1st of 2019. And I was sober for 4 years, but before I took that big step, I had to be honest with myself, with looking at, I had spent more than 15 years of my adult life being fucked up. Mostly on alcohol. I thought it was everyone else's problem that I was. And of course, alcohol was the gateway for me to say, sure, why not take 5 oxys? Sure, why not get 3 8-balls and have a bender for a week? Sure, why not? But I would have never been on any of those other side journeys had it not been for my beloved alcohol. And I was scared of getting sober in spite of looking at all the horribly destructive consequences that drinking was bringing to me. For other people, it would have been a no-brainer. Well, quit fucking drinking. You won't spend that money. You won't have hangovers. You'll stop carrying all the extra weight on your body. You're not going to, allow drugs into your life. Duh. For someone else would be like, duh. But within my own self, and I wasn't able to understand this really until I got sober enough to feel my feelings and be at one with them and process them. Because sobriety, or because using does not allow that. Which is why we use. So we don't have to feel. I was scared of, even though it was so destructive in my life, the binge drinking pattern, it still was giving me something positive subconsciously. It was giving me belonging to a group of people. And that's what I had to realize. And I was scared. And at least I've never felt, first of all, I've never felt like I fit in anywhere my entire life. Never. I have felt on the outside looking in. It's that feeling in itself at previous times in my life has really put me into a really dark headspace, wondering why I'm even here. To not feel included or feel like I have anything in common with anyone, because I've just been really different ever since I was a little girl. And always knew I was as well, and never really felt like I fit in anywhere. Not in my race, not in my religion, not in American culture, not with politics, not with society, not with gender. I know now why. Different video for a different time. But I knew I was scared to make that change because I was scared of feeling even more shame of ostracization, because even though drinking was toxic and destructive, it at least gave me a belonging to a group of people. And it was a group of people of all walks of life. It didn't matter if they were people that lived in the street, if they were people who came from whatever race they came from, if it were people that came from whatever class structure they came from, or political affiliation, or all the reasons that we separate ourselves, or the matrix separates us into groups and subgroups, there's one thing in common among all those groups that gives social inclusion. Well, there's lots of things, but alcohol was one. So it was a way for me to always be included to any kind of group of people. And when I had that epiphany, I was more scared. The feeling of feeling the shame intrinsically of being isolated even more than I had already felt, that feeling was greater than the misery of living in alcoholism. So really, if you want to find out what you're like, why you're really scared to take the leap, don't point the finger outward at, well, I'm scared that, don't point the finger outward at seeming circumstances. Well, I'm really scared that, my family isn't going to accept that X, Y, and Z. No, it's not that. You're scared of the shame that you're going to feel when they do, because they probably will. But let me say this as well. You're also not offering the most authentic version of yourself if you're keeping those things hidden within you. You're not giving them the gift of authenticity. You're also not giving those people the opportunity to love you for who you are, because you're not walking in your truth. That's also a tough truth to swallow. It was for me anyway. Daily it is. Owning my own truth and having the courage to walk in authenticity, no matter what that looks like. Being true to me, because at the end of the day, I have accountability to myself. I'm telling you what, people I went to high school with, people I've known for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. People half my age are all of a sudden dying. People in their 40s and 50s are falling over. The friends I've lost over the years. The friends you've lost over the years. Your spouse could love you today and tomorrow decide that they want a whole new life and make a decision that's best for them to move forward. Your family can be here today and tomorrow not. Even if you come from a wonderful, healthy, supportive family structure. At some point, I hate to break this to you, because this is another big thing. Well, I'm really scared to do what I really want to do until my parents die, because then I can feel freedom. What if they live to be 90? At the end of the day, you're responsible for your own happiness. At some point, all these people are going to go. Whether it by death or by choice to move forward on their own journey. You have to be in your own truth. You have to listen to your own voice. And it can be scary to walk that path that's different, that seems different. And I promise you that when you come out of the woodwork and you're authentic, people are going to talk shit about you. But I hate to break this to you, they already are. They already are. What does it have to mean? What does it have to mean about you? What does it have to mean about what you're doing? If they were so radically focused on their own lives and learning how to cultivate unconditional love for their own selves, they wouldn't be talking shit about you, about anybody really. They would have no clue what's going on. They'd be in the flow of life. So what does someone disagreeing with your journey mean? Does it mean the threat of isolation? Does it mean the threat of rejection? Does it mean, so basically you're going to give into conformity your whole life? Is that what that means? It's really worth it to dig into yourself and allow yourself to really feel like when your fears about things, say, okay, let's imagine that happened. Be honest with yourself about fear. We're taught to be scared of fear. No, fear is our greatest teacher. That's another video for another time, by the way. Fear is your greatest gift. And so it's important to take time to lean in. And let me tell you, if you stay on autopilot in your life and you just keep ignoring shit and shoving it down and going on weekend benders about it and working more hours to not listen to it and going into people-pleasing cycles even that much more to not have to listen to it, and hitting the drive-thru again to not listen to it, and you're doing all this shit to numb. It doesn't have to be like that. You're miserable. You can be free. You're giving into conformity. The only way for a fulfilled life is being authentic. That doesn't mean you won't have problems or adversity or, problems or whatever. But at least you know that you're standing with your own truth. At least you know that you're being real with you. And the real reason why people are scared to make those changes is because they're scared of being rejected. They're scared of, well, if I put my notice in at work, I'm really scared. Gosh, my boss has, been good to me over the years. Okay, good. Why would that change if you put your notice in? If that person changes because you put your notice in and their love was unconditional, why would you want to hang on to that? Let that person show their face. Well, I'm really scared. Well, my coworkers are going to think poorly about me, that I am going to make a different move. Okay, what does that have to mean about you? What does it have to mean? It doesn't have to mean a thing about you. If anything, they're jealous because they all wake up tired of feeling like they have to go into prison every day. You don't have to. They choose it. You're choosing it. They're going to be jealous that you have the courage to go about your own journey, and they're going to be watching to see what happens. You know, so just be honest with yourself if you're wondering if you're like, and this was also a big component of my weight loss journey. Whenever I lost that big weight loss when I released my book, I had lost 40 pounds prior, but then 45 more just like fell off when I launched my book. I knew I had been in and out of bodybuilding over the years, no matter what size I was. Which, why do we have to gauge our journeys by what size we were? And women especially, that's a whole different video for a whole different time. And the shame that we have about our bodies and how we're supposed to look and feel about ourselves based on society and socialization according to gender. But I knew how to do weight loss. I knew it by the book. You eat this, you weigh out your food, you measure out your food, you have 5 or 6 meals a day, small meals, depending on what your goals are. You do your weights, you do your cardio. Stop eating fast food, stop eating crap, no more fried food, stop eating sweets, stick to your diet and work out. It's really not that hard. But there was a part of me that was resisting. I had to be honest with myself and say, I know how I deserve to live in the best body in my own skin. I deserve to be in the best shape of my life, and how the empowerment that feels and reach my goals for long. Because I always knew no matter how much I got into my bodybuilding journey previously, I was going to boomerang back into binge drink. I would even be sober. And that was a time period during my life that I was sober. I mean, I was drinking heavily, but I would be sober for a month or 3 months. I would go on some big workout kick and crazy weight would fall off, and I keep feeling like someone's behind me. But that's just trauma response, and I've gotten a lot better with it over the years, but I just can't help it. But I always knew it was only a matter of time before I would boomerang back into bar lifestyle, hitting the drive-through, and I wanted it subconsciously. It was about wanting to put that weight back on my body. So I really had to do the work here and here. And I recommend going to Teal Swan. Look up Teal Swan, Teal space SWAN, and her video about parts work. This is what helped me through that process. There was a part of me that was resisting losing that weight and becoming that in just a completely different version of myself. And I realized that until I really dealt with that part of myself, I was never going to have long-lasting results for those goals. It wasn't about execution of all the stuff by the book. It was about this and this. And that's what I'm saying. And I realized there was a part of myself that felt safer having that weight on my body. That part of myself. And I had to address it with love. Not with the motive to change it. To accept it and to love it. And to being able to integrate it with myself. Because as long as you have those parts that you're divided, like, you're never going to be completely aligned to go forward toward your dream or your goal. So I had to be honest with myself and say, well, I feel more safe in the world as a heavier woman. I feel less apt to be kidnapped, which I tell my story in my book. At 20 years old, I survived a kidnapping and a rape. And I feel safer from men. I feel safer with putting weight between me and the world, from just being terrified of people in general because of those traumas. So I had to deal with that part of myself first. And I'm telling you, doing that work, weight fell off. My cravings for sweets and junk food, I didn't have to fight against them. They dissipated. I had an insatiable desire to go run for an hour. Never ran for a whole hour, just sprinting through the mountains. Never had the desire to do the things I did. It was natural because I did this work first. So I'm saying that when you feel resistant to change and doing something really different in your life, it's not about, well, I just don't have the money right now. No, be honest with yourself and ask yourself what that subconscious fear is all about. But anyway, I hope this helped somebody out there. I love you. If there's anything you want me to talk about, drop a comment.